The state's most expensive public project, the desalination plant, has hit more trouble this week, with a court battle over plans to sack 160 workers. A groundbreaking EBA, which made the project's construction workers the highest paid in the country, was supposed to prevent disruptions. I spoke earlier to Julian Resnevesky, General Manager of People, Safety and Environment for Thiess d'Egremont. Julian Resnevesky, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Francis.
Now, it sounds as if things have become quite ugly there in recent weeks. How has Thiess allowed itself to lose control of its workforce?
Well, Francis, we've got an objective of trying to improve the productivity and production in the electrical works on our project, and in order to do that, we've put in place and explained to the electrical workers in the union that we want to make some changes, and we're in dispute because the ETU have objected to the changes that we're looking to make.
We'll get to those changes in a moment, but things that we've been hearing this week from Thiess is that the workers are on a deliberate go slow campaign, that they're having to be chased out of crib sheds, that there's been abusive and threatening language, and we've also heard that the ABCC is investigating complaints against both the union and Thiess. So relations really have broken down, haven't they?
Well, often when the project wants to introduce change, the unions have objected to that change. We've been trying to work through that and to get the change done without any unlawful industrial action. But at times, tempers flare and things do get off the rails somewhat. And we saw that situation last week.
So this proposal to sack 160 electrical workers has been in court this week. It's been put off until at least Monday, when there'll be a further court hearing. Can you just explain how you expect to improve productivity with fewer workers and less hours worked?
Okay, well, Francis, what we've got at the moment is that we've got most of our electrical workers are working on what's known as a 4x4 shift roster. It's a roster where the workers work 4 12-hour shifts, then they have 4 rest days, and then they come back on and do their next 4 shifts. What we've found with that roster is that because of the number of roster changes, because of the length of the working day, because of the number of breaks that are taken during the day, it's quite unproductive, and it's very difficult to get a level of productivity out of the roster. So what we've decided to do is go back to the traditional construction 56-hour week roster that we had in place up until April of this year, and we believe that by doing that we'll improve our productivity and our production.
Is this just a way of provoking the union, which is what they say, that it's retaliation? You're provoking the union to engage in illegal action so that you can then sue them for engaging in that illegal action?
No, well, our intention is not to provoke a situation, and in fact the union hasn't put in place any substantial industrial action that would cause that sort of confrontation.
Just to interrupt, they say that they're not going to because they think that Thiess is trying to bait them to do exactly that.
Well, we've sat down with all of the unions on the site. We've explained what our objectives are and how we want to improve production and productivity and bring the project home safely and successfully. And we've indicated to the unions that as long as they work with us, then we'll work with them to try and implement those changes.
Well, the union says that the project is already 8 months behind schedule, and there's no way that you can meet the June 30 deadline for next year. The government says you won't get an extension to that deadline, but will you be pushing for one anyway?
Well, we're still targeting to complete the project in June next year, and we believe that by making changes such as these, we'll give ourselves a lot better chance of hitting that target.
But it sounds like that June 30 deadline is an objective, not a certainty. Is that correct?
Well, nothing's a certainty in this world, but we are working towards that. We're pulling out all stops to make sure we can achieve that deadline, because that's what we're obligated to do.
And there's huge penalties, of course, if you don't meet that deadline, $1.8 million a day. Thiess already expects to lose more than $270 million on this project. Isn't it inevitable that that figure will just increase?
Well, we're hoping that we'll contain the outcome to the financial details that have already been disclosed. And that's why we take the situation at the moment very seriously, and we're working hard to deliver on our objectives.
Of course, there are very high wages agreed to under the contract, and the government says that it's set a new benchmark for all government projects. There must be a huge feeling of regret within the entire organisation that such conditions were agreed to in the first place.
Well, when we sat down to negotiate the agreement with the unions, we were negotiating in a context of this is the largest project that's ever been delivered in the state to date. And we believe that we negotiate an agreement that represents the standards that were already set in the industry in Victoria for those types of jobs.
The state government also wants to reduce union power on government projects in the future through changes to the construction code. What would you like to see changed in the future?
Well, we believe that if the government and the unions and the project contractors like ourselves work together, we should be able to improve productivity and production on all projects in Victoria and make our infrastructure as competitive as it is in other states. So we're pleased that the government is calling for that, and they're taking steps to help contractors such as ourselves achieve that objective.
Julian Reznoveski, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.